This is the terrifying story of Amelia the doll.
There was this woman who was living in this 100-year-old house. And as beautiful as the house was, there was this very dark energy coming from it, and she thought it was caused by the doll that she bought.
The doll was named Amelia, and she was made in 1994. And what's incredibly creepy is that when the woman first bought the doll, her eyes were blue.
And everything was fine for years, but one day the doll's eyes turned this bright green. It basically just happened overnight without any explanation. And that is when weird things started happening in the house.
She got woken up every night by a crying baby, and she'd walk around the house and wouldn't be able to find any source of the sound. She would also hear doors slamming and her floor creaking. It always sounded like someone was walking towards her bedroom.
So she had some paranormal investigators come to her house, and they immediately found out that it was the doll causing all these problems. So the doll was put on eBay, and this is what the listing actually says. It says, "This doll is not recommended for the weak of heart or for any little kids to have in their bedrooms. She's too creepy." This is a warning about a woman called the Candy Lady. They say that if you grew up in small town Texas, you've probably heard of her before. The Candy Lady allegedly lures children to their doom by leaving enticing goodies on their windowsills just before bedtime. Her plan is basically to wait until the mom and dad fall asleep. She'll then place the treats on the window, the kids will go over and eat them, and then she'll grab the kids and feast on their sugar-laden blood. Children began to go missing, yet no leads were ever found that would suggest they were kidnapped or ran away. And a sheriff who had been investigating the disappearances actually turned up dead. His eyes were missing and his pockets were stuffed with candy. A farmer also found a child-sized set of teeth inside a candy wrapper one morning while tending to his fields. So people wonder, was this story just crafted by clever parents to scare their kids into not taking candy from strangers? Or maybe the Candy Lady really is real and is out looking for her next victim right now.
Here are some of the most dangerous things that people found in their cereal boxes.
This is back when it was really popular for companies to put toys and prizes inside of the boxes.
In 2004, Kellogg's put a Spidey Signal toy in their boxes that used a mercury-powered battery to project a web-shaped light.
And this toy had to be recalled because it was actually leaking battery acid into the cereal.
In 2000, Kellogg's had to recall 800,000 toy cars
because the little wheels kept detaching from the toy and they kept falling into kids' cereals and they were choking on them.
Slap bracelets are actually considered one of the most dangerous kids' toys of all time.
And they often used to appear as prizes in cereal. And before they were made out of rubber or plastic, they were made out of very cheap metal with sharp edges.
Popper toys were also recalled from cereal prizes. In 1993, 36 children actually suffered very severe eye injuries.
Anyways, there are so many more, but I've done a video about this on my YouTube channel.
There is something very wrong with this mannequin in the window of a bridal store in Mexico.
Legend says that this mannequin is named La Pascualita and is actually the preserved body of the original shop owner's daughter, who died tragically on her wedding day.
She appeared in the window in 1930, and locals were instantly disturbed by her lifelike appearance. Not only is her face astonishingly expressive, but her hands are strangely detailed, and her legs even have varicose veins.
And like I said, people say she looks too much like the shop owner's daughter.
According to the story, the daughter was preparing to be married when she was tragically bitten by a black widow spider and succumbed to its poison. And it wasn't long after her death that the mannequin appeared in the shop window.
Over the years, customers have complained that La Pascualita's eyes will follow them around the store as they're shopping. They've also said that they've turned around and found her in a different position. Now, as creepy as this legend is, it is very improbable that it's a real human, just because it wouldn't be able to look like that for 8 decades. But nonetheless, it's still pretty creepy to look at.
This is a true story about the Green Children.
These were 2 children who appeared in the village of Woolpit in the 12th century.
The children were brother and sister, and they had green-colored skin. They spoke an unrecognized language and refused to eat anything other than beans.
And eventually, after a lot of time went by, their skin lost the green color.
When they learned English, they explained that they were from the land of Saint Martin, which they said was a dark place because the sun never rose far above the horizon.
And and they claimed that that land was inhabited by green people.
They said that they were tending their father's herd and followed a river of light when they heard the sounds of bells.
And that's when they found themselves in Woolpit, England. Some people say these children must have been from a parallel dimension. Other people say they're probably aliens. But the logical theories say these children were suffering from hypochromic anemia. This was not the first time this happened. There have been multiple accounts of green children throughout history. So, what do you think?
Here are some extremely disturbing things that happened on the set of The Wizard of Oz.
So you know that scene where it's snowing and they all fall asleep in the poppy field?
The snow that was used was actually asbestos, which is a toxic chemical and literally should not be touched or inhaled.
They used to put it in old houses when they were being built because they didn't know how harmful it was.
And today, if people are removing asbestos from buildings, they have to wear masks and full body safety suits.
Next, we have an accident that happened to Toto.
Toto was stepped on during shooting, and they had to replace her with a doggy double for 2 weeks of filming while she recovered from her injuries.
So she ended up being okay in the end, but that's horrible.
The Wicked Witch wore copper-based green makeup that was dangerous to ingest, but the makeup gave her severe skin burns during the scene where she leaves Munchkinland in a blast of smoke and fire. And the Tin Man's aluminum-based makeup caused an infection in Jack Haley's eyes.
So there were so many issues on this set, but honestly, I still love the movie.
Have you ever seen the creepy hidden mother photography?
This was a very common form of photography back in the Victorian era,
where young children were photographed with their mother present but hidden in the photograph.
This is because they wanted to keep the child as still as possible while the photograph was being taken, because back then cameras had very long exposure times.
So to get a clear picture of a child during the 19th century, the child had to be persuaded to stay still. So the mother or nanny would be hidden within the frame, often behind curtains, under cloaks, or disguised as chairs. Sometimes photographers would even remove parts of the photograph after so the mother would not be seen.
So it would be this photo with like this huge black smudge on it. It looked bizarre. I don't know, something about looking at all these old photographs just gives me the creeps.
Back in the Victorian era, when a family lost a child, they would make what was called a mourning doll.
This was mainly for very rich families, and they would make a mourning doll to look exactly like the child that they lost.
It would often be made of wax, and sometimes the hair would be taken straight from the dead body and put onto the doll to add an extra level of authenticity.
Then the dolls would be put into the real crib of the child they lost. Their clothes would be changed every single day. They would be cared for like a real child to help the family cope with the loss.
Back in that time, medicine was significantly less advanced, and the mortality rate for children and infants was a lot higher than it is now.
A lot of kids died very young back then, so mourning dolls were a very popular thing.
This is a teddy bear that is so dangerous it has to be locked up.
This bear is located in England in Bolsover Castle, which was originally built in the 12th century.
And one of the strangest things about this place is that inside of it, there was a bear named Mr. Ted that is said to be extremely cursed and haunted by something evil.
Now, staff are so afraid of him, which is why he is locked in a glass case surrounded by chains, which is so weird to see because you'd never think someone would be like threatened by a teddy bear.
Apparently, this bear is known to cause headaches and nausea to anyone that is standing near it.
There are also numerous occasions where people have heard this bear growling at them. There was this one time a news crew was allowed to go to the castle to see this bear, and at 3 a.m. during the witching hour, all the cameras turned off, and the producer got so sick that he was taken to the hospital. So this bear does not play around. This is why everybody was afraid of Baby Laugh-A-Lot. So this doll came out in 1970. She was obviously known for laughing hysterically, and the doll literally has her mouth open, showing her teeth. One of the very first commercials that aired showing this doll actually scared a lot of people. It shows these two girls with this doll laughing uncontrollably, and that's the whole commercial, just everybody laughing.
Now, this doll does not have a cute little laugh. She actually sounds exactly like Chucky, and people said she would just turn on at random times while everybody was asleep.
She was basically the doll version of Tickle Me Elmo.
Another creepy doll that came out was called Hugo, Man of 1,000 Faces.
And he was like this half-man doll with a blank expression on his face.
And he came with different accessories like wigs, facial hair, glasses, warts, moles.
And you were basically able to make him look however the heck you wanted.
And I don't know about you guys, but he's incredibly scary. This is why you should never use a red crayon.
This is about a creepypasta called The Crayons.
A married couple who had just returned from their honeymoon decided to buy a house. And one day the husband was walking down the hall when he spotted a red crayon lying on the floor.
Now the couple didn't have any children, so they wondered where this crayon had come from.
The next day the husband came home from work to find another red crayon lying in the same spot.
He was very puzzled and decided to ask his wife about it.
She told him that every day since they first moved into the house, she had been finding red crayons when she was cleaning.
And they were always lying in the same spot at the end of the hallway.
So he tapped on the wall at the end of the hallway and heard a hollow sound. Curious, he began peeling off the wallpaper.
And behind the wallpaper, he found a pair of sliding doors. They were nailed shut, so he had to open them one by one. And then he opened the doors to reveal a small hidden room.
Looking inside, they saw that the walls of the little space were covered in words scribbled in red crayon.
Over and over were the words, "Mommy, I'm sorry, let me out. Mommy, I'm sorry, let me out."